Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Courtney Pollock, and I'm the Customer Marketing Coordinator for SWK Technologies. And I'd like to welcome you to today's session, Outgrowing Your Payroll System, How to Unite HR, Finance, and Payroll. So I've got just a couple of logistics to go over, and then we're going to dive right into the content, so nothing too long. If you've seen the chat so far, this is, a webinar, but everyone's been placed on mute to keep the background noise to a minimum, but that does not mean that we do not want to hear from you. So let us know where you're joining us from today. We're going to have a bunch of polls throughout the session, so we'd love to get to know a little bit more about your unique situation so that our live presenter today can talk a little bit more specifically to things that apply to our audience. The session is also being recorded. So, if you want to look back on the recording, you can get that tomorrow afternoon. We'll send it out to everyone, whether you're able to join us today or, if you're watching the recording later on and you weren't able to join us live, you'll have access to that, through email. And then it's also going to be on our YouTube channel. So we have a YouTube channel that's full of, our webinars, other educational content. It's a great resource to check out. And you can also find this recording there. It's great to see we've got people located in Colorado like me also. Some people in California, Chicago. So, we're almost covering both coasts. Our presenter, Julie, she is located in Georgia. So we're covering coast to coast today with everyone. And then my final thing is we also are going to have a Q&A session at the end. Julie's put together a really educational session for us today, all about payroll, everything you might need to know if that's something you're going to consider in the next year or so. So if you have any questions at any time, you can put them in the Q&A section or even the chat on the right-hand side of your screen as they occur to you. And then when we get to that Q&A session, I'll make sure that those questions get passed along to Julie so that she can answer them live. So we've got polls going. Talk to us in the chat. Let us know your questions in the Q&A, and then we're going to have a great session today. So with that, I'm going to bring Julie on stage and let her tell us a little bit about herself and today's agenda. Hi, Julie. Oh, we've got you on mute there.
There we go. Thank you so much, perfect. Courtney. Appreciate it. Hi, everybody. It's so great to be with you this afternoon. I know everybody's schedules are very tight, so I appreciate the opportunity to spend a little bit of time with you today. Courtney's got our agenda up, and these are some of the things that we're going to cover today, but I do want to just set the stage as we kind of dive into what's going on in our technology landscape from an HR and payroll perspective. It is ever evolving, and it is at an unprecedented pace. Even for those in technology, staying up to date on technology trends is really harder than ever. And as professionals, we need to be at the forefront of all of those driving changes, not just really keeping up with it. So it's hard for us as technology providers, and it's hard for HR and payroll professionals, as I have spoken to a lot of folks, really wrestling with these same type of obstacles that they are looking toward every day. We want to really truly be, and I know it sounds cliche, but we want to be able to be smarter as we are working and not harder on ourselves. And so how do we stay ahead of those trends? Things like AI and EOS integrated into our hiring strategies, employee experience and decision making, not only for us as our HR and payroll folks, but also for our company leadership. And this can be so challenging, making sure that we are constantly looking at how things are changing so frequently and making sure that we're addressing those. So things like pay scale transparency and making sure that we're driving a modern employee experience, retaining employees through training and career progression and culture shifts in our workforce. It's overwhelming. So staying ahead of the guidelines and the compliance requirements and the labor laws and the ethical work strategies, it's just a challenge. So again, it is vitally important for us to be at the forefront of these changes. and to be a driving force for our company leadership, as well as supporting our HR and payroll teams, and making everyone look good, right? Making everyone work together. We know that history tends to dictate that companies change their HCM and their payroll systems about every 3 to 5 years. And so today, I'm going to ask you, are you at that point? Have you outgrown your system? And that's some of the things that we're going to spend time talking about together today. Is I'm going to give you some suggestions that you might want to consider when you are perhaps thinking about even enhancing what you already have, or perhaps even replacing it. So let's jump in. I've got a few slides that I'm going to go through, just so that we can talk a little bit about where you are in terms of your current landscape. So I know Courtney's got a poll for us.
Yes, that poll just launched. So if you look in the right-hand side of your screen, you should see the poll section. So we'd love to know just a little bit more about your particular situation. How many employees does your organization have? What is your biggest payroll related challenge? Maybe it's a few of those, but which one, really resonates the most with you and your business today? So those are on the right-hand side. They just launched. I see a couple votes coming in. So Julie, as those come in, I will update you.
Perfect.
And we'll leave this open for 30 seconds or so. So you've got a moment to think about it. Right now on the employee side, we've got most people are saying they're in that 1 to 50 range. And then our other group is in that 50 to 250. I know we've got a couple other people out there, so we'll wait to see what their votes are. And then on the challenges side, right now our lead is integration with other systems.
Good deal. Something we will discuss.
Okay, and we've also got some other responses coming in. We've got people saying manual data entry across systems, time-consuming processes. Okay, so we're gonna keep on going, and those polls are still open, so you can answer them at any time. Okay.
Perfect. Thanks, Courtney. Okay, so we appreciate the polls. It gives us an opportunity to know a little bit about kind of what you're in the midst of. So as we look at things like a digital transformation, we want to improve, we want to transform, and we want to process. So what can you as an HR and payroll professional do to improve these processes? Obviously, sharpening your processes, enhancing your processes, and advancing your teams. So how can we do that with efficiency and do it in a minimal cost as you begin to look at investing in new HR and payroll solutions? Obviously, we want our organization to prosper and to flourish, and for everybody to be successful in what they're doing. So looking at integrated platforms, talking about AI automation, that is the success that is driving our industry and our technology today. So those are some of the things that we know from a digital perspective we want to look at, we want to focus on. So I think we have another poll.
Yes, I told everyone we're going to have polls today, tons and tons of polls. So this one, it's still launching, so give it just one moment. You can think about it, but who's involved in your payroll system decisions? Because like we said, the title of today's session is how to unite HR, finance, payroll, all these different systems. So, who at your company is going to be a part of, these technology decisions? So we've got that open. We'll leave it for just a few seconds.
We've
got some qualified people.
Yep, yeah. We generally see CFOs. We see committees. I know I work with a lot of companies that have a committee, giving the opportunity then to present it to leadership. So be interesting to see what folks say.
Yeah, and right now in the lead, someone said a cross-functional team. So I think that really speaks to that committee situation. And the options up there, is it just your HR department? Is it, finance and accounting are really leading that, level? Is it more of a C-level decision? So, and I think a lot of times, that can really come down to company size as well, which we saw with our
100%.
first poll.
100%.
Okay, so we're gonna keep on going so Julie can get to the meat of the presentation, but those polls are always open. We'd love to hear from you.
Good deal. Thanks, Courtney. Okay, the bridge. So we know that payroll truly becomes that bridge between your HR and your finance group. We know that HR's focuses are the people, right? Your jobs, your PTO, the benefits, your performance, your training, your retention. And that is where HR focuses. But we know that finance looks at budgets, they look at AP, they look at AR, they look at cash flow. And so, how do we bridge these two departments together to work collaboratively? And that's one of the things that we're going to talk about as we get into looking at a total solution. In our market space, and there's lots of areas in this market space, I've been in this industry for over 30 years. So I've seen a lot of different tools and solutions. So one of the things that we see is that a lot of companies have gone out and they have maybe purchased a tool to add to something they've already built, or maybe they've got a time system and they want to go and they want to add an HR and payroll tool. In our industry, we call that putting lipstick on a pig. But what I would say today is that when you are looking or possibly considering looking at new HCM solutions, you really want to look toward a company that is built from the ground up. And what I mean by that is from an ATS solution all the way through a payroll and offboarding solution, right? So what does that look like from a company perspective? There are lots of products in this market space today that are truly built from the ground up. And the reason I say that is because there's nothing behind the scenes that we have or the companies have put Band-Aids on to make it appear as a total one solution. Instead, this product does the recruiting, and every time you hire an employee, it goes all the way through the entire life cycle of the solution. So from recruiting to onboarding to the employee experience into HR, what do benefits look like for our employees? And do you allow the employee to have that experience where they can actually go in and they can look at their elections, they can request time off, they can look at things like perhaps we've decided to have a child this year. What does that look like from a deduction standpoint? Looking at compensation, and in that vein, looking at performance advancement or career advancement. Time and attendance, big industry right now, especially from a construction standpoint, because a lot of folks have teams that they are sending out either from headquarters or they're asking them to immediately start at a job site. And can our solution handle that? Is there an ability for our teams to log in from different tools like iPads, like clocks, like their phones, and being able to geofence or geo-track so that we know they're not really doing it from their couch, that they really are giving the true time that they have being on a job site, looking at leave of absence, and then obviously paying our folks. Direct deposit advices, are those appearing in the employee experience where if they're sitting in a car dealership on a Saturday, they can grab their payroll information and provide that to folks. So there's lots of things to consider, but the biggest thing to consider is making sure that the tool is built from the ground up, hire to retire, as we say. So are we considering a payroll change, Courtney?
Yes, I told you, we've got polls all day. But so we're just curious to know, are you considering that payroll system change? So, you're at today's webinar. Is that because, you're actively looking? Are you just kind of researching your options, creating your own checklist of those items that you should be on the lookout for, just starting to consider a change? Or are you really feeling some of those pain points we talked about earlier? Or are you not sure? Did you just love the idea of a webinar today, which makes me quite happy? And you just joined for that reason, to find out, you don't know until you know. So Thank you for everyone who's participating. We're going to keep the ball rolling, but again, the more we know, the more we can kind of speak to your situation. And I think we've got a lot of people right now saying they're in the researching phase, which you're at the perfect place for that.
Absolutely. And this is the time, because if you truly want to go live in January, which most companies do, this is the time that you begin to look. So we're excited to try and help. Okay, so some things that we need to consider. I know that Courtney said that there was integration, and we want to make sure that we are integrating with all of our tools, right? Being able to link directly behind the scenes from our payroll and all of our payroll transactions into the ERP with no problem. There are a lot of vendors in this market space today that do that and do that very well. And you'll see a lot of the HCM payroll vendors will sit on the ERP pricing tools because they have been chosen as a preferred vendor. So something to consider when you are looking at integrating your systems together. Compliance, tax, government mandates, very important. Obviously, self-service. So what does that look like as an employee experience? And most systems will give you a manager's view and they'll give you the employee view. And that's really important to look at, because your employees feel invested in when they are utilizing great technology. They see that you're interested in them because you're giving them tools to advance themselves. Time and attendance, we talked about crew tracking and geofencing and tracking and device usage. All of those things are very important to take into consideration. Benefit administration and carrier connections are huge right now because it eliminates that manual entry that a lot of folks are doing. There are connections with carriers, and it gives you the opportunity to have a seamless open enrollment. So definitely something to consider. Now, I know the big thing, the big trend is now AI, right? So what do your reporting and your analytics look like? Is AI used with your system to be able to not only look at your trends within your company from year to year, but what are other companies your size doing, right? And most systems allow the opportunity to compare your information against their information or other companies' information. We want to make sure security is down to the field level, and most, if not all, systems have gone through very detailed IT authorization. So definitely something to consider if you're looking at solutions. You want to ask about SOC 2 compliance. Customer support. It needs to be a white glove experience. And I hear over and over and over how frustrated folks get with their customer service. Are you going to get a white glove experience? I would hope so. You don't want just the guy that they hired yesterday to answer the phone and try and solve a problem for you, right? Are your responses timely? If it's a payroll down, are they getting back to you within a certain period of time? Is it reliable information that they're sharing with you? So all really big things to consider. And along with that are product updates. How are they rolled out? Is it done in the middle of the night? Is it done at the first of the month, middle of the month? What does that look like? Because from the perspective of payroll, if you're trying to close out, if you're trying to look at a quarter, you need to make sure that all of the things that have been enhanced during this period of time is not slowing you down in any way. Additionally, we want to look at the cost. We want to look at a contract. We want to look at liabilities. So all of those things are really important considerations as you're beginning to navigate your search, right? Some additional things to consider is how products support multiple employee types, part-time, contractor, full-time, 1099s if you have those. Can they handle multiple FEINs and multiple locations? And are there costs associated with that, right? Very big question to ask. How does your company handle multiple jurisdictions? I know when I was early on in my career, worked with a lot of MLB teams. And if you know anything about an MLB situation, they are paid out of one state. I'm from Atlanta, so the Braves are paid out of Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. But if they go to play in Philadelphia, they're going to be taxed based on Philadelphia, right? And we know there's lots of tax jurisdictions and locals, and all of those things play into making sure your payroll can handle it, right? So making sure that there is detailed complexity when you're talking specifically about payroll. How are they handling quarterly and year end? What do those costs look like? Does it offer that flexible payroll option? Again, different pay periods, different multiple pay methods. Do they offer pay cards? Can you do check printing and direct deposit advices? So lots of different options that you need to consider. Things like off-cycle payrolls. Is there a cost to that if we do an off-cycle payroll? And what does that look like? What does it look like if we terminate an employee today? Can we give them a check on the way out the door once we've gotten all of their company property? So lots of things to consider as you're discussing different options. Obviously, you want to look at the implementation costs and what happens if you add technology or functionality later down the road after you've implemented your HCM solution. Lots of different things to consider. So how can we help? We do have a special offer, obviously, and we do want to provide you with the ability to have a complimentary HCM payroll evaluation. So if you are interested, you can let us know through the poll or at the webinars at swk.com. So I would follow all of this with, are you looking to grow? Are you looking to move off of your current solution? And how can we help you?
Great. Thanks, Julie. So like Julie said, that final poll, I promise, if you're not a fan, that poll is in the right-hand side of your screen. So if you want to take advantage of the complimentary HCM payroll evaluation, there's a couple different options there from, absolutely count me in to, give me a little bit more information, whatever it may be. We'd love to, talk about your specific situation and get you some, more specific information that we can only talk, to so many scenarios on a live webinar. So we'd love to have that individual conversation with you.
Absolutely.
And with that, I think we're going to dive into Q&A. I told you we'd have a good amount of time for Q&A. So I've already seen some questions come through in the chat and the Q&A section. So Now's the time. We've got questions, Julie. So now's the time. And, we'll do our best to answer it live, but, if it requires a little bit more conversation, a little bit more detail, that might be something that we say, we're going to take this one offline and we'll reach out to you. So we'll do our best to answer them all live. And like I said, go ahead and get those in the Q&A and we'll get going.
Good deal.
Are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready. Let's go.
Perfect. Love that. Okay. So first question we have is, what if I only want to track time? And I already have a payroll solution.
Great solution. Okay, so coming from a salesperson, this is going to sound a little funny. But what I would recommend is that you go to your current payroll provider. Most of those folks already have time solutions that they either integrate with or that they offer. So I would consider that first. Many solutions out there are what we call boutique solutions, in that they are just a time solution and they can integrate with all payroll solutions. So lots of options in that regard. Great question.
Okay, great to know. This one is about migration. So this person said, how complicated is it to migrate historical payroll data to a new system? We have employee records going back several years that we need to maintain.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to depend on what you're coming from. If you're an on-prem tool currently, you own that product, so you have it forever, so you can go back and look at that information. Our team, our implementation team, is very versed in bringing over data from current system into new systems. So you work with our team or the implementation team from the company that you are looking to move forward with. They should have tools for you to be able to execute and pull out that information, but definitely something to consider when you're looking at migrating to a new tool. Do they provide the capability to bring over all that information? I'm not going to lie, there's probably going to be a little bit of manual input, but the bulk of your information should come over without any problem. Of course, famous last words, but that's what we that's what we usually see.
Perfect to know.
Right.
We got to keep it honest. There's always a little bit of that out there.
Absolutely. It's never easy, y'all. It's never easy.
So our next question is about a specific solution, which I'm sure we have some other people in the audience on as well. So this person said, which Sage 100 works best to integrate time clock with Sage Payroll? So, and this person said specifically Sage 2022 or iCloud Sage, and maybe there's something else, Julie, that you have in mind. But I think what the main point here is integrating time clock with Sage Payroll and Sage 100.
Okay. Yeah, and that if you're a current SWK customer, I would definitely grab your CAM and ask them what they are seeing being recommended to Sage 100 customers. I do have a couple of tools that we use to integrate with 100. Happy to discuss that with you. Most of them are cloud offerings. So cloud to cloud always works really well. But there are tools out in the market space that will allow you the ability to track time and integrate it with Sage 100 and Sage Payroll.
Perfect, Jess. So if that was your question, we'd love to talk more, about those specific scenarios. Like Julie said,
Absolutely.
there's a good amount of different solutions and options. So our next question said, are you a full service company, all Fed state compliance requirements?
Well, that's a great question. And I should have addressed that in my presentation. I'm sorry I didn't. We cannot speak to you about any of our payroll and HCM solutions unless they have been taken care of from a government compliance standpoint. So they go to every payroll vendor goes to the government to make sure that they have been stamped with approval. And then all of the mandated compliance reporting, the tax jurisdictions, any updates, any enhancements, any government compliance mandates that are passed down, they automatically go into our payroll solutions before they are ever rolled out to customers. So it's all done behind the scenes before it actually is being mandated by the government. So they're generally about 30 days ahead before the mandates are expected by companies. So great question.
Yes, great question. Loving the questions. Keep them coming. We've still got a little bit of time. So the next question we have is, will work ticket numbers migrate directing from the operations module into the payroll system? And I'm going to go ahead and, Julie, maybe you can answer this, but we might need a little bit more information about, which
Work
systems
tickets.
you're speaking to.
Yeah, it might need a little bit more information on that because work tickets, I'm not sure if you are meaning bringing work tickets over from your ERP into payroll or vice versa. Most of the time, what we see is that you're going to grab the time captured by the employee. You're going to pay the employee based on perhaps a job that they are working. And then that information is pushed over into ERP where you can invoice off of those particular hours or that particular job that the employee has worked. So I don't know if that clarifies or defines the question, but I'm happy to talk offline on that if we need to.
Yeah, and we'll go into like another question real fast. And if that was yours and you want to give some more context, go ahead and you can submit it another
Absolutely
follow-up. So I think we'll do like one or two more questions as we come up on our 30 minutes. So the next question really is, how can we ensure employees don't experience any disruption to their pay during a system transition? This is our biggest concern.
Great question. So what we do with any of our vendors that we work with, and most companies will do the same, most technology companies do the same, is we do a couple of months parallel. So a couple of payrolls parallel. The longer, the better is my feeling. And it gives us the opportunity to run parallel with your current system and making sure that everything is balancing out correctly, so that when you flip the switch to move to the new system, you have probably gone before that rollout to notify your employees that there's going to be a change. And there's probably been some tutorials, maybe some videos that have been shared of how to get into the new system. And then from that, once that rollout takes place, there should not be any hiccups between the two systems, because we've already done all of our parallel testing and we've made sure that we are balancing out and that the employees are not feeling any angst between the changing of the systems. But that is a great question. And most organizations, when you are doing a product delivery, provide you with a very detailed, or you should ask for one, I should have said that, provide you with a very detailed deployment, project deployment. So we are super methodical when we are rolling out our different projects and working with different payrolls. We're very methodical in that, making sure that everything literally rolls over with no problems. So that's a great question.
Great. And I'd love to keep answering questions all day, but we have got a couple minutes past our 30 minutes. So I think we'll go ahead and wrap. If you have a burning question after the session, do not hesitate to reach out. I'd love to put you in contact with Julie. You can always reach us at info@swktech.com. I want to remind everyone before you go that poll is still open if you want to take advantage of the complimentary HCM and payroll assessment. Again, that is completely free, complimentary. Julie can meet with you, tell you a little bit, talk about your situation, talk about some solutions, whatever it may be. So let us know in the poll. You can always reach out later at info@swktech.com. We have a ton of information, on our website around different HCM solutions as well, if you want to check out things there. And like I mentioned, our YouTube channel has a lot of information as well, and some of the other great sessions that Julie has done for us. So we hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you for taking a bit of time to join us. And Julie, thank you for sharing all the information you did. Anything else you want to say before we go?
Nope. It's my pleasure to talk to everybody and happy to help. Been in the industry forever, so I know the good and the bad, the ugly about our products and everybody else's. So happy to chat.
Great. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
guys.